Thanks everybody for taking a little bit of time out of your day to learn more about automating accounts payable for Dynamics GP finance professionals. So my guess is that if you're here, you are a Dynamics GP finance professional, which is exactly the conversation that we're going to share with you. And the ironic part of that is that, you know, about, I won't say how many years ago, but a long time ago when I was in college, I was putting myself through college actually working at a CPA firm. And so we managed accounting for, you know, a lot of different companies, accounting and payroll and some HR documentation as well. And so I can feel your pain, and I know what that's like. I've been now part of KwikTag for about a year and a half in the role of marketing as well as our partner relationships, and Sean has been here for a lot more years than I, and has a ton of product and company knowledge, industry knowledge, and has been working with Turnkey very closely for a number of years, and he is one of our senior account managers and product experts. So you will hear a little bit from both of us today, and we hope to make the most of this time that you're going to spend with us. So we're going to dive right in. So why are we having this conversation to begin with? Well, the problem is that right now when you come into the office, or when people on your team come into the office, you, like I did so many years ago, and then later even as an AP manager specifically for one company, come into the office and have a stack of invoices waiting on your desk every day, and or phone calls, messages, complaints, questions, you know, where's this invoice, where's this payment, where's this document, how come this wasn't paid, how come we're late, this vendor's angry, this customer's angry, you know, all of those sorts of things build up what I can tell you, and I'm sure you can relate, is an incredible amount of stress. Now, I don't know about you, but there's no line on our budget for managing the stress associated with people who have to deal with a lot of paper in their work. However, a lot of industry research and customers of ours and ourselves, you know, directly have learned over the years that there is, in fact, a true cost associated with that stack of paper and the stress that comes along with it when you come to the office every day. So we've done a little homework for you and want to share what we found in the results of that cost, that data. And the reality is that 70% of businesses would fail within 3 weeks if they suffered a loss due to all of that paper, because you would no longer be able to support or find or produce, you know, God forbid, in terms of an audit or vendor relationship review or anything like that, customer account data, if you needed to recover that data, if it was lost in a fire or flood or some other disaster. Now, let's assume that not all of us are going to go through the extreme of that, and hopefully none of us do. But even on the day-to-day basis, the average employee, especially in accounting and finance and HR, those areas of the business that are so intensely weighed down by this amount of paper, spend 30 to 40% of their time, 30 to 40% of every day, they spend looking for information locked in email and filing cabinets and storage boxes and offsite storage, and run down the hall and up and down the elevator, and, you know, trying to find information to support those questions and those customers and those vendor requests, payment requests, those sorts of things. So why does that matter now? We've got it under control, right? We're doing something that's sort of working. Well, it's kind of like putting a Band-Aid on a waterfall, if you know what I mean. The problem is only going to continue to grow, and we know that because 22%, the number that you're looking at on the lower left-hand part of the screen, is the rate by which paper is growing in the average office every year. So if you're an average size business, the amount of paper in your organization is going to double in 3.3 years. Now, if you're a larger organization, it's going to take even less time before you reach that. So imagine the situation today and how that's only going to increase over time as we continue to watch the paper piles mount and grow. And they're going to command even more of our time because there's going to be more paper to go through to find the answers to those questions. Okay, and then let's say we do actually have to go find a missing information, a missing piece of information, a missing document. The cost associated with that is about $125 per document. And if we have to go back all the way to the original source and have it reproduced, whether by us or somebody else, the cost associated with that is around $350 to $400 per document. Mid to large size organizations, by the way, fun fact, lose a document about every 12 seconds. So I don't know about you, that's not a pain that sounds like a lot of fun for me to deal with, and it's probably not one that you want to put your organization through if you can avoid it. So that's the why, the what brings us together to have this conversation. And, you know, and so then we want to talk a little bit about what we can do about it. Could you, is it possible in some sort of altered reality, hopefully in your reality, that you could address this problem with one system, with having one source of information, one source of data that can be managed in the ideal location of where it lives in the system that you use today. In most cases, for many of you, it's probably Dynamics GP. And in our case, we work with customers, hundreds of customers who deal with that same exact scenario on a daily basis. So we look at it as kind of a three-step process. We say, well, the first thing is we have to get the paper to go away. We call that step capture. And there are several different ways that you can do that, especially if you use KwikTag, but whether you do it with us or somebody else, we encourage you to help make the paper go away. And Sean's going to demonstrate for you a couple of clicks that will enable you to capture documents directly from within GP. The next thing is the integration. So I mentioned within GP. That means unlike some systems who have, an integration that does an export and an import, or you have to go out to some third-party site in order to retrieve documents or find them, if you use KwikTag, you are literally clicking a button within GP. You don't have to leave your native environment. And then the third thing is you've made the paper go away. You're now working within a system that you live and breathe in every day, i.e. Dynamics GP. And then so the third thing is to automate that process. Many of our customers have come to us over the years and said, you really helped us get rid of all the paper and the filing cabinets. We had one customer, by the way, tell us that they went from 26 of those 4-door file cabinets, the kind I'm talking about. They line your finance department's walls right now. They line your HR department's walls and hallways and floor to ceiling in some cases, and storage rooms and offices, real estate you could be using to put people to work in. But right now you probably have some filing cabinets there. Anyway, this customer went from 26 of those 4-door file cabinets to none. They also reduced all of their offsite storage and had everything stored in one place, and they never had to stress about finding documents ever again. But then they said, all right, we have them now in one system. How can we, automate things for approval and getting into the system automatically? And what if there's multiple approval levels? What if there's vendor criteria, dollar threshold criteria? If it's a certain department, we need different people to approve these documents. And then ultimately, we still want them to be accessible for our GP users, and in many cases, our non-GP users. So the 3 steps to really make that paper problem go away is to capture the documents, integrate with your core business systems, and then automate as many of the processes as humanly possible to really make that more efficient, because that's where you get kind of the greatest bang for the buck. Now, I mentioned this customer who came and said they got rid of 26 4-drawer file cabinets. They also, ironically enough, started with the goal of automating their AP process, just like many of you are probably thinking about today. And what they found is that because they had access to all of their documents in the same system, they were then able to automate a number of other processes. For example, they had 3,000 independent contractors around the country, and they needed to have 30 plus different documents put into the system and approved and reviewed on a timely basis and on a frequent basis every 6 months or a year, depending on the relationship, so that they could find those for other areas of the business. And I don't know about you, but it always seems to come back to finance. Even if the problem starts in sales, or the problem starts in fulfillment, or the problem starts with an independent contractor relationship, at the end of the day, all of these documents have to be accounted for. They have to be reported on, and they have to be auditable, which means you're the ones that have to find them. So regardless of whether you deploy your document management and your process automation system specifically for your accounts payable and or expense management, something that's very, very finance-centric, or if it's HR or vendor contracts or sales orders or independent contractors or whatever you need, it ultimately is going to come back to you. You're going to want access to and control over that information because you're the ones held accountable for it. And ultimately, you would love for it to be integrated with your ERP system because that's the area that you live and breathe in every day. So what we're going to introduce you to today is the idea of capturing information specifically within GP. In just a couple of clicks, what you're looking at is a screenshot of the GP interface, which should look very familiar to most, if not all of you, with a little addition of a tag feature that is the presentation of KwikTag in the ability to simply view or tag a document, again, directly within GP. This isn't an integration push-pull. It's a direct embed option for you to click a button and tag or view a document. Or in some cases, if you choose the automation path, you can then view your work queue of documents that have already been approved, and Sean's going to demonstrate this for you so that you can see those transactions automatically created so that you don't have duplicate data entry in that stack of documents that you come into the office every day. So the way that KwikTag works within GP is that we have a very deep integration is what you're looking at here on the screen, but we also have that embedded tag and view option across 75 plus forms in GP. So if you use other modules besides the payables within GP, which I'm sure many of you do, you can tag documents from there to sales information, vendor cards, legal documents, HR documents, whatever you might need to add to any transaction in almost any screen. And if we don't have it out of the box, we can work with you to customize it. We can work with Turnkey to help bring that to light for you. Now, the thing is, this is also, it has a very light technical footprint. What do I mean by that? Some things that integrate with GP use GP resources, use the GP database, not in the case of KwikTag. So think of KwikTag as your independent sense of checks and balances for your data. It lives in a separate database. It doesn't use any GP resources for processing, and all of it is presented to you through GP through the connection that's provided to you specifically from KwikTag. And in the interface that Sean's going to demonstrate for you, as you see the new screen that just populated on the view that you're looking at, it looks and feels very much like GP. So whether you want to use this for data entry or to kick off a workflow to have things automated and routed for approval, the experience is going to take very little training for your team to get up to speed on, because it looks and feels just like GP and has all of the GP-enabled features and functionality that you can take advantage of before the invoice, in this case, even gets to the point of having a transaction created. So what we're going to demonstrate for you in just a moment is the opportunity for you to take an invoice that comes into, instead of your desk, comes into GP, into KwikTag rather, whether through any number of different ways to get it there, and have it instantly tagged, just a few clicks, routed for approval, and then have that transaction created within GP. And all of this will be completely audited and available to both your GP and your non-GP users. So before we dive into the demo, we have a quick poll for you that we're going to share here in just 1 second. And Brad, if you want to go ahead and publish that, I'm just going to have this expand. So you all should be looking at a poll on your screen now, which is the question of, this is the audience participation part, so check all that apply, please. The question is, what holds your organization back from prioritizing process automation? So if you think about your environment today, and in many cases what we find is that whatever you're doing today is working to some extent, or your business wouldn't be able to pay bills on time at all. And the reality is that there's a better way to do it. There's a more efficient way to do it, or you wouldn't be looking at things like process automation. And the challenges are, how do you bring about adoption, and how do you get people to realize the change is worth it? Because sometimes that can be painful for people, and we understand that. That's why we actually designed what Sean's going to demonstrate for you, which is called the GP Pro Client, to look and feel very much like, if not just like GP, with the added benefit of having the document to view on the right-hand side. So let's look at these options, and if you don't mind checking those that apply to your business. What holds your organization back? Is it lack of upper management support? Is it budget constraints? Is it difficult to prove the ROI in your organization? Is it the lack of time to research solutions? Or is it concern about internal adoption? So if you could just check those, we'll give you a couple more seconds here to click the boxes there, and then we'll go ahead. Brad, let's go ahead and take a look then at the results here. You can close the poll. Drum roll, please. All right. So what we find here is budget constraints, lack of time to research, and concerns about internal adoption. Yeah, not uncommon. Industry research actually finds that budget constraints or lack of budget are in the top 3 reasons across organizations of all sizes, mid and large, of any size really, to really find the time and the resources to be able to put in an automation solution. And a couple of these things are related, the budget constraints and difficult to prove ROI. And so what we would hope that you'll come away with is the efficiencies that you gain and the building the business case, you can take back that data that we started with, right? The $125 a document that it's costing, the 30 to 40% of people's times. And sometimes when you see the solution in that light, you're able to find that it's not so much a budget constraint as it's a cost, it's an opportunity cost that your business is experiencing today. So we'll go ahead and close the poll and head back to the slides, and at this point we're going to jump right into the demonstration that's going to give you a first-hand look and feel. Sean, one second, I'm going to make you the presenter here. The look and feel of how this can come to life, how automating accounts payable in your organization can really be advantageous, can really be a game changer, as it were, in your organization, how you can gain efficiencies. So with that, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Sean Fitzgerald, and he's going to demonstrate for you accounts payable automation specifically for GP, and he's going to show you how to do it in QuikTag.
Thanks, Mary. Hey, thanks, Mary. Appreciate it. Hey, Mary, before you go on mute, when you were a kid growing up,
yep,
I know a little bit about where you grew up. Did you ever find yourself on some hot summer day walking down the train tracks somewhere, hanging out with some friends?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Thanks. You'll play along with me, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All the time. I lived right not far from a train tracks. How did you know?
See? And, yeah, you're down there, you're walking along, seeing what you can find, picking up a rock or a stick or whatever, and then sure enough, once in a while you'd find an old soda can, right? That
sure.
That was sitting there kind of half rusty, maybe kind of torn a little bit. You don't want to pick it up and get cut, but it had been there a while, and some kid like you before had come and kicked that down the train tracks or down the road quite a while. Sometimes I feel that's the image I get in my head sometimes about document management, right? And you just asked that poll question about people pushing it off. It is the can that gets kicked down the road is kind of my point. And I can only assume that's because people, man, sometimes there's that list of priorities, whether it be in accounting or even from an IT perspective, right? There's this list of priorities of projects we have to get to, mission critical, got to do these. And it seems like IT usually most IT departments can't get past a list of 3 or 4 of those before another big one pops up and jumps to the, number 2 or number 1 on the list. And however you want to say it, right? It's like AP automation keeps going down that list or gets kicked down the road. And that's how they see it, because I think that the perception is sometimes, well, we're doing it now anyway, we can live without it. It's a nice to have. We hear that sometimes, right? But I tell you what, I'll give you not only QuikTag client, even anybody that's using a document management system now with AP automation, give anybody that's been using it for 6 months or more, and good luck prying it out of their hands, right? They're not going to tell you that they can live without it. They're going to tell you they can't live without it. And that's the way, and you probably find that with other, software solutions, but that's the way it goes, man. You don't know what you're missing. You don't realize. You might not even know you got, holes in the dam that you're sticking your finger in, right? Until this gets exposed. So hopefully I'll get you fired up and encouraged and excited enough about it when you see it that you realize that, wow, this is something that we can do something about now. In terms of researching the other solutions, the good news for you guys is that, hey, guess what? Your trusted Microsoft VAR Turnkey has done that for you, because they have vetted out in the industry. They have done their research, and I'll tell you, the first one they're going to recommend is us. So I hope, as they're your trusted consultant and advisor, and you trust them enough to say, hey, wait a minute, they've been down the road. They've gotten that can kicked down the road a few times in some different places, and QuikTag came out on top, and that's who they recommend. So that'll save you that time. Okay, enough of that. Let's jump into the product. So what you're looking at, and Mary, you're seeing my screen right now, right, with the QuikTag drawers on the left-hand side? Okay, want to make sure GoToMeeting's working. So I took care of logging in. We all know how to do that, username and password, blah, blah, blah. So you log in. Mary said we're embedded in GP at over 75 screens, and we are, and here they are. So what happens is when we connect QuikTag to a screen in GP, we also automatically create over in QuikTag for you what we call a drawer. So each embedded point in GP has a corresponding drawer in QuikTag, and that's what you see on the left-hand side. Kind of a boring view to start with, big white space, but it's about the drawers on the left-hand side that are all embedded in my GP demo database. Okay, so I'll scroll through here. I'm going to come right down to the payable transaction entry drawer. We're going to talk about non-PO invoices today for the most part. We work with PO invoices too, but we're going to, just as a time saver, we're going to focus on non-POs. So I open up the payable transaction entry drawer. All the files are down the middle. I click on a file, and I get the document on the right-hand side, whatever the case may be. Okay, that's the general layout of KwikTag. So how did this, this is actually a sales order, but we have invoices and things in here. How did these documents get in here, right? How do they come to be resting in a drawer? Well, let's start with a workflow. And to do that, I'm actually going to bring up our GP professional client. So if you one of those that have kicked this can down the road a couple of times, maybe you were here last year when we did this demo, and you're like, all right, I kind of remember this, but I want a refresher because this is the year we're going to do it. You didn't see this because this is new. This is our GP professional client. And this is going to be, and when we say clients, we're talking user interface, UI, you hear that term, right? Well, what is the user going to log into and use is what we're talking about. So with the GP professional client, you'll probably only get a couple of these internally. You could have 50 approvers, and you could have 10 people using KwikTag inside of GP. But you know what? I got 2 people in AP that kick off our workflows for invoices. And that's who we're talking about right now. Step 1, those 2 AP people, what do they do? What are they going to use? They're going to use this. They're going to use the GP professional client. Okay, so I see a dashboard right here. It tells me that I have, 21 different documents here. I'm logged in as the top left-hand corner. See it says Sean. Welcome, Sean. I'm logged in as Sean, as the AP guy, Sean. I come in here. I got 21 things in my queue here. 12 are in an edit state, and edit just means that I've sent it out and it's come back to me and it needs me to edit it, right? Do something, add some information, change some information, something. So that's kind of already in process. 8 need to be tagged. Those are step 1 documents. Tagging is first thing we do to launch a workflow. 1 I'm actually happen to be the approval of, and it's come back to me as waiting my approval. Okay, so I'm going to click on tag because that's what we're interested in right now, kicking off a workflow. I'm going to come in here. Here's my 8 invoices, 8 line items. As I click on each one, I'll see the image on the right-hand side. I'm going to very simply just click, do a right-click here, okay? And it's going to give me my workflow path that I can take. So in my demo environment for my company, we've built 4 different workflows, okay? You guys might only have 1 or 2, whatever you need, but I'm going to choose the workflow of approver selection. So I'll click on that one, and it's going to take me into my data entry experience, okay? I'm still going to have the image on the right-hand side, but as Mary showed you in that slide earlier, look at the data entry experience. Again, I know you guys have seen this before, right? That looks familiar. Yes, it's the GP payable transaction entry screen, okay? So since that's where we're headed with this, that's the data entry experience. Now, some people have asked me when they first see this, they go, wait a minute, are we in GP? No, you're not. You're in KwikTag. Okay, thanks for asking though, because that's what we were trying to create. That's the user experience we were hoping for. So this is all real-time connected to my instance of KwikTag. It's a stateful or restful connection, to use the IT guy's term, but what it means is real-time. It's a real-time connection. So here's all your company IDs that you would. This is going to operate just like your GP environment does. Invoice, finance charge, credit memos, whatever, right? You choose the document type, description, again, that'll populate right over. Vendor ID, here's the integration. Hit the magnifying glass, and here's my entire list from GP. We have it kind of shrunk down there a little bit, but you can see the whole list from GP, okay? And so if I want to scroll through that and get to the one, that's fine. Probably easier to just filter. I'll filter to Advanced Office Systems. And there it is. ADV brings it up. I double click, and look what it just did. 7 pieces of information just got dropped in. The vendor ID, the name, right? Address IDs, everything that normally gets populated in using GP is dropped right in there. Now again, real time. So let's say, oops, wait a minute, this is a new vendor. They don't exist. Pop over to GP. Put in the new vendor, right? Come back here, hit that lookup glass, and they'll be on the list. Real-time connection, okay? So doc number, I can just grab this right off of the document, right-click, put that right in there, cut and paste. Right now, if I leave that right now and hit submit, I'm going to get an error because I've used this invoice before, and we're not going to let you do that, right? You can't put the same invoice from the same vendor in twice. We have a quality assurance check against that. So I'm going to call this Turnkey. Did I spell that right? I did. I'm just going to put web for webinar. Okay, so Turnkey webinar. So that'll be my doc number. All right, there we go. So I'm going to drop the amounts in. I can scroll down and see this, but I know it's no tax or anything. So I'm going to do $2,500. And then anything else that you want to put in, right, could be put in. Discounts, freight, miscellaneous. If there was a PO number, you could drop that in. Shipping methods, right, can be chosen here. Everything, right? Tax schedule ID. So if you do any international transactions or whatever, you need to apply Canadian or whatever else kind of tax schedules, you can do that. Everything would go in there, right? And then the distributions. So if I want to apply the GL code, that's step one, I can leave them blank and leave it to the next person to do it. Maybe you're going to build yours that way. You're going to send it to an approver and they're going to do it. That's fine. Whoever's going to do it, they're going to do it here in this box, and it's already got some populated for me because these are the defaults. Pulling them from the vendor ID card in GP. And putting them right in here for me. If I don't have them default set up in GP or they don't work for this thing, then magnifying glass, and anytime you see that, again, you're always back to the situation where you can, scroll through the list that you see there. So this is my my GL list. I can scroll through that. I'm going to want to filter. That's an enormous list, right? I don't want to waste time doing that. So I can, filter right to what it is that I'm looking for, okay? And so maybe I'm looking for supplies, software, sales, double click, pop it right in. And then if I need to come over here and, and change the debit and the credit because I'm allocating this across multiple GL codes, I can do that, okay? However you need to do it. Now, if I try and submit this right now, by the way, it's not going to allow me to because my numbers are going to be off. So we will do a functioning total check on you as well, another little quality assurance check. But, okay, barking at me. I just wanted to delete. I'm going to delete these last two and just go with the standards. And come on.
The challenges of real-time demo. There you go.
There we go. There we go. Got it. All right, so I just got the two originals, the defaults that I wanted. I'm going to hit OK, and it applies the GLs. So now they're applied. Now, remember when I came in on this one, I chose invoice approver selection because I wanted to determine who it's going to go to. You don't have to do that. You could leave it kind of, we could go with one where it's more, where the system defines it, meaning we'll put the intelligence of who it routes to into the system for you behind the scenes, part of what we call the approval matrix, okay? But this one, a lot of times people say, you know what, it's too variable for us, we would just rather, route, pick it from a list. So here's a pick list. I have a huge pick list. I want to go to Sean CFO. I just did a little type ahead with Sean. Gives me my Sean opportunities here at the bottom. I'll click Sean CFO. There you go. That's who it's going to. Workflow comments. I'll say Mary said to pay, and I need to take typing lessons for speed and accuracy. All right, there we go. So workflow comments, hit submit. Now when I hit submit, this is just going to route and go, right? And it's going to go to Sean CFO. Now, next version, GP Pro Client, we have a really cool feature. If you're staring at your phone, because I'm boring you to death, hopefully not, but listen to this, because this is cool. Next version of KwikTag, I'm going to have, of the GP Pro Client, I'm going to have a little box right here that I can check that's going to say, save as template. So I'll click that checkbox, and then it'll say, okay, name the template. And I would call this one, Advanced Office Systems, LA maybe, all right? And that's the template. So next time I get this, an email from this vendor, I'll choose the template when I come in to do the data entry, and KwikTag will fill out all this information on the top portion for me, okay? It really will fill it all out, okay? And so it'll save everything and fill it all out. Now you're gonna have to change like the doc date, you'll have to update, but it's a template, so it's a starting point. But the biggest part of it, right, is that all the GL distributions will be there as well, right? So it'll fill out, all this stuff for you, make a couple quick changes, and you're gone. So it's already fast and easy, because you know how to use it, and templates is going to be a huge time saver, almost eliminating the data entry. Okay, so that's next version. We're excited about having that come out. So I'm going to hit submit. This is going to go ahead and send it on its merry way to Sean CFO, take me back to the queue to do the next one in line. Okay, so let's see where that headed, because that went out to QuikTag. Okay, and here I am. I'm logged in. If you look in the top right-hand corner, it says Sean CFO. So this is going to take it back to QuikTag, and it's going to put it into this queue. Now I'm going to get this here in this queue, and I'm also going to get it via email, and I'll show you both. Let me do a little right click here and refresh, and updating, boom. Ah, they hit at the same time. There's my email notification and into my queue. So there you go. So this is it. This is the one at the bottom of the three. You can see the date received, and it said workflow comments, Mary said to pay. That's the one we're looking at. So here it is on the left-hand side. And then you can see my, all the information here. I'll click on our third one. And then it populate there. And so you can see the document number on the left-hand side, -turnkey web. So that's the one we've been working on. So I get all the info, I get the information, the document down here at the bottom, of course. Approve, reject, or delegate are my options. And so I can approve it. If I reject it, it's going to send it back and ask me to put in some comments. I can do that. If I delegate it, it's going to if I hit delegate, it's going to say, oh, you don't want to approve this? Who do you want to approve this? Maybe I want Mary to approve this. I click Mary from the list, throw in some comments, and move and hit, delegate, and moves it from my queue to hers, right? Like I said, if we do a reject, it's going to ask me for some comments, tell the person why you're rejecting it. But I'm going to hit approve, and we're going to send this on its way, okay? So watch this. I'll hit approve, and then I'm going to jump over into GP, and we're going to see if we can beat it there, because this thing is so fast that it's going to go into my GP work queue like lightning, all right? So it's not there yet, and we're going to see if we can beat it there. Now, before I do that, though, let me bring up the email, because I want to show you guys that. So I got an email approval, right? Here it is, Turnkey Web, same document, came through via email. All the information that I need to see here in that grid. I get the document attached here, right? I get to see the invoice. And then a couple flavors of this, a couple versions of this, if you will. This one says to approve this document, reply to this email with approve. This works if you are on your phone or outside the company network, right, where links don't work. I can just type in the word approve, hit send, and I'm done. I do not have to go into QuikTag. That will process my approval for me and remove it from my queue. I do not have to log into QuikTag. The other version of this approval does have a link, and that looks like this. See this one here, exact same thing, but I get this link at the bottom of it. I click approve and reject. That works when you're on the company network, right? Because that link hits the QuikTag server, takes it out of my queue. It just depends on how you want to, do your approvals and how you want to set it up. But works from a mobile device, no problem. Okay, ready? Ready, set, go. We're going to see if we can do this. All right, I'm going to hit approve. It's going to leave my queue here, and boom, now we're going to jump over into QuikTag. We're going to go to transaction entry. We're going to go additional. We're going to go view work queue. We're going to see all the work queue items left for approval. It's already there. Mary said to pay. Right? This is not smoke and mirrors. No, I did not set that up and put that in there beforehand. I should have showed them the work queue and showed you that wasn't there.
Yeah, so they could see it without it and with it.
Yeah, right.
I promise.
But look, the doc number, Turnkey Web. Yeah, all right, next time I'll do that. So it's not a magic trick. It's just that fast, everyone. It works that quickly. So this just moved on. So what is this? This is the GP work queue. This is where we put where documents go to now be pushed into GP, okay? So this is back to the AP person, I would assume, right? Your person that does the data entry today and loads invoices into GP. They're going to step in at this point, okay? And so what I have here, I have two queues, one for purchase orders. We don't have any now, but we got our invoices. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit create. I'm going to create a payable transaction entry. Right? And when I do that, it's going to ask me to assign these to a batch. All right, now, the cool thing is that I can do multiple invoices at a time, whatever configuration of these that I want to pick, right? Do them all if I want. I can move however many umpteen dozens of invoices all at once, as long as they're all going to the same batch, right? You can one batch at a time. So if I have, but now I don't have to do any what I'm about to show you, but I can, and that is I can look at some of the info on this. right? As the AP person, I have the assurance of knowing that these have been approved. But if I want to do a little research, maybe that'll help me determine what batch it goes to. I can see information there. I can certainly see the invoice if I need it, right there. And then what I'll do is once I determine which ones are going to the different batches, I'll move them all. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and just do ours. I'm going to hit create. Again, it's going to ask me to assign it to a batch. And so I'll do that. I'll take a look at the batch. Here's all our batches. Mary, we got to close these batches out. We got messy batches. All right, I'm going to choose SAF2. I'll choose that batch. I'll hit yes, and then you'll see this one disappear. Okay, boom, gone. Now it's in GP. So if we come in here and we do SAF2, we'll navigate to that, and it's going to be this one. Pop it open, and there we go. Look at our document number, Turnkey Web. So that's the one we've been tracking. Here it brings it all in, GL distributions, everything's fully populated. And then when we go additional view documents, you'll see the KwikTag right there. The document is forever and always attached to this transaction. Okay, I just took a drink of water because during a normal demo when I can hear people on the other side, at least one person, if not most people, go, cool, right about then. Okay.
I was waiting for the standing ovation, and then I remembered that we couldn't hear them.
They're muted.
But anyway, yeah, hang on.
No, if you're an AP person, I know you're clapping right now. And yeah, people love that. So your AP people will love that part right there, right? So just that auto create at the end, having this automatically attached is fantastic. So that's invoices, right? That's routing, approval, sending things through and getting for invoices and putting invoices through. But what about the next step in the process, right? What if, and I got so many things to show, and Mary, I probably only have what, maybe 5-10 minutes left?
You're good, yeah, about 10 minutes, you're good.
Okay. So let's say now you got to pay this, okay? And it's check day, you're cutting checks, right? And if you're like most people that we talk to, the most common process that we hear is some version of this. This may be exactly yours. Thursdays is check day, right? We do the check runs on Thursday, and what happens is we print all the checks, and then we get the checks, we paperclip them to the invoices, we stack them up on the controller's desk, maybe if that's the check signer, and the controller comes in or comes back from lunch, and they get this big giant stack, right? There's 92 checks that got to be signed today, and there's a big stack of all the papers. So that's time consuming. If you've been a part of that, you know that. I had a controller tell me one time, oh my gosh, my AP lady was out one day sick and I had to do that. I couldn't believe how much time that took. So it sounds simple and easy, and for the people that do it all the time who are good at it, they can get it done quick, but it is time consuming. And then once the controller's done it, now you got to decouple all those, put them in the files, put them away, and all that. So that's time consuming. Plus, if you're using KwikTag like I just showed you, and you print out all your checks and you go to grab the invoice, it's not even there anyway, right? It's in KwikTag, and of course, you're not going to print it out. That completely defeats things. So what do? Well, we give you this right here. Very simple approval workflow solution. You run the check report, right, that makes sense. In my example right here, I have the check distribution report that we ran in GP and saved to the KwikTag server. It's probably a report you're running already anyway. You're just going to go save as, and you're done. KwikTag will do the rest. What's the rest? This is the rest. We grab that report, pull it up into KwikTag, get all the data, kind of a flat, boring report. That's not what is all exciting here. What's exciting is this side of the solution where we say, okay, here's the check batch report, and here's the 3 checks that are in there. You can see check number 089377, 78, and 79. These are the 3 checks. Now look here. I can do approve or reject of the whole check batch right there, either way. But I'm going to want to look in and take a look at these documents. So I click on one, right? And then I expand, open up here. And here is the invoice, all right? Here's the invoice or invoices that we just have a one-to-one, one check to one invoice. But if there was multiple invoices, they would all be there. So there's the invoice. Here's the GLs that it's hitting right below, right? And then that's cool. I can see the invoice. And if I want to know who approved this, right, I can then hit the workflow history and I can see the audit trail. right, of who tagged it, that was step one, who approved it, time and date stamp, right, who put this into GP. And so I can see an audit trail of that document. Now, what I don't have displayed here, but is available, this red or this green and red, approve and reject, I can give that to you down here at the individual check level as well. So we can approve or delete at the check level. And 50 checks, and we approve, 48 of them, 2 of them don't get approved, and to remove them from the AP batch. Okay, so really cool solution. And then what's great is that we can give you this exact same view, but into what we call a check drawer. So I can take all that same view I just showed you. Let's go store that in a check drawer. Okay, and that's really cool because when audit time, right, you guys, everyone probably either just finished up or is finishing up with audit. You know how auditors are, right? They bring you a list of checks at some point. Here's the 25 checks. I'd like to see the invoices associated with these, please, right? Send you scrambling into filing cabinets and all that, right? But not with KwikTag. So literally our clients tell us, you know what, okay, Mr. Auditor, pull up a chair. Which one do you want to see? And they just search for it, bring it up, and there's all the corresponding info. Really nice. Okay, so that's pretty slick and very just very helpful this time of year as well. The other thing I wanted to show you real quick is that we can also do, just like we do with invoices, we can also do the same thing for expense management. Okay, so let me filter here, and I'll just look at my receipts. So same thing, we use this internally. It's called Quick Expense. I just showed you Quick Payables for invoices, non-PO invoices, but this is Quick Expense for routing and approval of receipts, right? So whether that be a corporate credit card that's issued to the employee, or if it's a reimbursable expense or they've spent their own money, either way. But what happens is what I do here, yes, that's my thumb. Yeah, I was at the Midway Airport back in October of 15. It's an old receipt, Mary. Yeah, so you just snap a picture, right, with your phone, email it in, send it in. Or if you get them otherwise from your vendors, however you accumulate them, you're sending these receipts into your work queue, right? And most people are doing, you can do expense reports however often you need to, but we around here, we do them on a monthly basis. So these all come in, and what I do is I just come in here and I will just what we call code them, right? I'll just like I did for invoices, I'll just fill out some information. It can be, I'm not going to take you through all these details, but these are all customizable fields. It can be as much or as little as you want to. One of the key things is going to be the expense type, of course, so whether that be a GL or just a generic term that we reconcile on the back end to the exact GL. But you just code them, right? And then hit submit. And so I'll do this to all of the, whatever this is, 8, 9 receipts that I have in here. And then when I'm done, I run a report. We usually run those by date, right? Like from the 28th of last month to the 27th of this month type of thing. That's how we do them. I run that report, and then what happens is it knows who I am. It's user aware, of course, right? So it sends that report to my boss. And so now my boss, just like we're getting email attachments, right, with invoices, now my boss is going to get an email attachment in his work. He's going to get it via email if we want to set it up that way. But he's going to get this report. Give it a second to open up here. There it is. So we grab all those receipts and we can compile this, Excel spreadsheet report for you, which right now you're probably filling out by hand if you're like most people we talk to. And that's fine. But again, it's not always so much about the exciting of that. It's about the exciting of this, which is here's the 3 receipts, right? So let me open this up. Come down here and see I have this report for 240415, which again, as you can see, I can do approval or rejection at the report level. But look at this, I can open this up now and there's my one receipt for $8 for Wi-Fi on Southwest, and I can approve or reject there at the line item, okay? So again, I can drill down into this. So my boss might say, yeah, I'll give you the Wi-Fi and I'll pay for your, I think this is an Uber, right? Pay for that, but $2,341 at a hotel, you got some explaining to do, right? You're going to have to give me, we're going to have to sit down and talk this one through because I see a really expensive steak dinner there that I'm not paying for. So you would reject that one, right? So, and then when we're done with this just like invoices goes from here and pushes into GP and creates a payable transaction entry. This goes into GP, creates and automatically creates a payable to, in this case, American Express. If it was a reimbursable, it would be a payable likely to Sean Fitzgerald. Most people set their employees up as vendors in that situation. So we can do that with receipts and with invoices. And then what's great here, what people really love about this one on the back end of things is that what AP can do is, let's say it's getting near the end of the month, right? And it's time to start to figure out if we have all of the, do we have all of the receipts in yet, right? Let me navigate to this real quick. We want to pay the American Express bill, but yeah, okay, so everybody got their reports in, right? That's fine, but how do we know that we got all the receipts in? Okay, so what they can do is AP, and this is cool. Again, if you're staring at your phone, watch this because this one's really cool as well. AP, you can go up and go to, again, my example is American Express. I've gone to the American Express website. I've downloaded the company-wide, the corporate-wide, company-wide statement from American Express, and I uploaded it right to this drawer. I can literally drag it, my CSV file I just downloaded from American Express, drag it right into this drawer and just drop it there. KwikTag drills into that report, goes into KwikTag and looks for every one of these line items. There's 20 items on this report, okay? And so KwikTag goes in and says, yeah, hey, all these ones in green, we have them in the system, way to go. These ones in red, we don't, okay? So that goofball Fitzgerald down there who went to Starbucks twice, right, for $3.99 and $7.15, he hasn't turned in his receipt yet. I don't care if his report's in or not, his receipt's not in here yet. It hasn't been put in yet, okay? So that's great for you. It gives you that visibility, but what's really cool is that it says Goofball Fitzgerald a email that says you're missing receipts, okay? So it says right here, hey, Bozo, get these in. You're missing two, $3.99 and $7.15. So now I know, oh, crud, I thought I had my report done. I thought it was right. It's not. And now I go back in and I can enter my other two missing receipts and run my report, and now everything reconciles. So we reconcile perfectly at the end of every month, I'm telling you, because of this. It is a fantastic solution.
It doesn't call you Bozo, though, just to be clear.
Yeah, no, that's
your own ad libs. Let's just be
that's
clear.
for me growing up in St. Louis in the 80s. What can I tell you, right? All right. So there we go. So Quick Payables was the invoice thing that you saw on the front. This is Quick Expense that we just talked about. There's lots more that KwikTag can do that we just don't have the time for to get into right now. But the great thing about KwikTag that I do want you to know is that it can definitely cross the hall. So if you're worried about finding the ROI, the budget, getting executive, maybe CEO approval for this thing, because, hey, let's face it, accounting, AP, we're not generating a lot of money there, so sometimes it's hard for us to get things approved. A lot of times it's about getting as much value out of a solution as we can. KwikTag can be used in the whole organization, right? So a simple example is with HR. You can create your own drawers, your own storage here, application for employment, benefit information with documents in here, okay? So and now they can upload documents, right? So whatever the case, marketing, IT, they can do all of this. And so I have these documents that are in here by employee ID. I have an application for employment, I have benefits information, so on. Just simple use cases, right? So you can store that and see all your documents. That's great. It's easy. And if you use HR and GP, we're integrated there as well. If you don't, you use it as a standalone. And then another thing we can do is that we can take all those documents and pull them together into what we call case files. So continuing on with my my example of HR documents, I just showed them to you in individual drawers, but what about as individual employees? okay? So I can come into KwikTag and open up my employee Adam Katz's case file and see all of his documents, right? Because every time I entered a document in to, he had a big file, so it took a second, but every time I entered a document into KwikTag with Adam, right, I put his employee ID. So that's the common denominator that pulls all those documents together. So case management can be used, sure, HR is a simple, easy example, but it can be used for jobs, projects, sales orders, and all the corresponding trail of documents that come after that. You tell us how you want to use it, but case management is a little known fact about KwikTag that a lot of our clients have used to great advantage. So again, I could go on and on. We got 7 minutes left. I'm supposed to be quiet. So Mary, back to you.
No worries. Thanks so much, Sean. That was really great. And frankly, for those of you on the call and participating in the webinar, I can tell you from having been on your side of the table, as it were, that I wish I had this 20 years ago, that, you know, to have an opportunity to have things as automated and as efficient as they can be in this day and age. Again, whether you do it with us or somebody else, we're excited about it, of course, not just because we work here, but because we truly believe in making your jobs and your day more efficient. So just to highlight a couple of the things that Sean covered in the GP professional client that's going to be very, very near and dear to your experience in your day-to-day world, that if you missed it, the support for multiple account types, unit, freight, taxes, invoices, all of that is available in the Pro Client. International tax schedules. If you happen to use Key to Act for your job cost support, we can support that as well at the distribution level. Multiple currency date formats, intercompany transactions. If you're one of those people that has to right now log in and out of GP multiple times so that you can get from one company to the next, the GP Pro Client actually takes that logging in and out away from you so that you can be logged into one company and then allocate things directly to another company that might be a sub-company of your GP installation and setup. Also, analytical accounting. We didn't demonstrate all of these things, but just so that you have kind of a snapshot of everything that you can do with the GP Pro Client in terms of invoice processing, routing them for approval. All of this data follows it all the way through and looks and feels on the back end exactly the same way as GP does once that transaction gets created. So, and we didn't have time in the demo to cover PO-based invoices, so Sean shared with us the non-PO experience. But if you are one who uses, if your organization uses a lot of PO-based invoices, we can support those as well, with or without what I'm showing you here as the data extraction or OCR piece. Now, as Sean mentioned, we're introducing the new feature of templates, which in many cases takes the need for OCR off the table, I'll say, in some cases, unless you have really, really high volume of PO-based invoices. But if you choose to use OCR, we can support that as well. Of course, there's a little bit of character validation, human intervention required to make sure that things are complete. But then once they are, this is the view from within the GP Pro Client that shows you all of your PO invoices, and you can just look right here to see that they're either a partial match or a complete match, or you can route them if they were exception-based. So this, again, just compares the purchase order experience in GP to how it can be fulfilled for you through the GP Pro Client. You can route exceptions only. You can automatically submit things for approval, and once they've gone through there, they'll create the necessary transactions and associate those documents within GP, just like Sean showed you for the non-PO. I'm going to fast forward through the expense management. Sean did a great job of highlighting that. Also, quick sneak peek into what's coming next for your view for expense management is we're soon going to be introducing this dashboard that is going to be responsive design, anytime, anywhere, built for any device, any browser, so that you can see whether you're on the go or in the office, what the status of all of the expense reports and or credit card statements, if you use multiple within your organization, you'll be able to access them in a real-time environment and be able to code things, tag things, approve things, report on things, all from a very quick, easy online user interface. So before we wrap up, I'm just going to highlight a few of the benefits. You've probably been following along and taking notes of a few of your own, but to highlight any that you might have missed, the opportunity, remember we talked about those costs and that time saving that right now is not a benefit in most organizations. The productivity and the efficiency gains almost go without saying. But what's really valuable is that any invoice or any document are now accessible, visible at any time, anywhere for both your GP users and your non-GP users across multiple processes, departments, systems, any of that they can now access. And audit and compliance requirements are easily met with a couple of clicks. Now, before we go, we have one more poll. Brad, I'm going to turn it back over to you if you don't mind publishing the second poll. Thank you so much. And I'm going to just bring this over to a screen where I can actually see it. And so the next poll is, which area or department in your organization gets the highest priority for technology updates? Now, Sean shared a little bit earlier that, oftentimes we're not the first, and so there's no mistake in that. Unfortunately, finance and legal, and you could throw HR in there as well, is at the bottom of this list, because we know we've been there on that side. But what happens sometimes here is that people find the area of the business that does get the greater level of priority. So please select the one in your organization that you feel gets the highest priority for technology updates, new software. They get all the cool new toys, right? What we find is that when you can share the business case, share the load, sometimes finding that, overcoming that budget constraint, or finding the thing that's going to make your CFO, your CEO consider this as a business priority, to move up on that priority chain, move up on the list of things that need to get done. Yes, it's going to be an IT project at some level, but essentially it's a business tool. It's going to make your businesses more efficient. It's going to make all of your teams more connected, and it's going to give you accessibility and visibility into any document across any department in any process. So hopefully by now you've all checked that. And Brad, let's just take a quick peek at the results there. So we'll close the poll, and sales and marketing gets all the stuff, operations and fulfillment. Yeah, isn't that the truth? If it's going out the door for sales, then gosh, we better be able to support it, right? And I can tell you from having been on that side of the equation too, and in an accounting role, and in all those years ago actually using GP for much of that, it's really, the challenge is, how can we turn what is so traditionally a cost center into, if not a profit center, at least a support enabling or a business enabling center of the organization? And what happens when you use this type of tool for sales support, order fulfillment, customer documents, legal documents, sales and marketing documents, I can tell you we use it here internally, and it saves us a ton of time. We don't have to have 4 different systems across the organization that manage documents for each different area of the business. We use one. And when you start doing that, the realization of those benefits and those cost savings are A, quick to be identified, and B, quick to be shared across the organization, and people can then quickly see that. So I would encourage you to think of it as a multi-department solution for your organization.
You know what
Okay,
I'm thinking,
Brad,
Mary?
we can head
I
back.
know we're almost, Mary, just one
Yep.
last thing. Operations and fulfillment there. It made me
Yeah.
think of our solutions that we have for Olay Mexican Foods and for
Yeah.
GameStop
Yeah.
for operations and fulfillment. Obviously, we don't have time to get into them, but you want to follow up with me and ask me about those use cases, because those places, as Mary said, do pay the bill, and the efficiencies we've brought those companies in those areas are about to with GameStop. This is where KwikTag crosses the hall and makes a big difference in other places. So.
Yep, that's a great point, Sean. Thank you for bringing those up. And this is just kind of the quick facts about our business. I'm not going to bore you with all the details. We've been doing this for a long time and with a lot of different companies. This is what I like to call our family snapshot. So all shapes and sizes of organizations across many different industries. If yours isn't on here, it's probably just because we ran out of room on the slide, not because we haven't actually been there to help organizations get through their automation and document management challenges. Here's a couple of quick resources that you can dig into and find at your leisure when you have time. And as Sean mentioned earlier, hopefully we've taken some of that research off the table. A, you've spent the last hour with us doing your diligence and finding out more about how KwikTag could potentially be a solution for your document management and AP process automation needs, but also work with Turnkey and help them, understand your process. We'll get on the phone with you and understand your process better so that you can really see what might be a good fit and where that might work in your organization. And Brad, I'd like to turn it back to you for questions. I realize we're just about out of time, but hopefully we can dive into any that have come in.
Sure. Hey, everybody, Brad here. One question that was submitted was, what can we expect in terms of training and support when we choose KwikTag?
Yeah, great question. It's interesting. Our approach to bringing you on board as a KwikTag customer really starts with, the minute you engage with, Sean in this case, where he will start educating you on the process the minute you, request a demo or start to go through your process, because our goal is to really understand how it is in your organization. So once you decide to move forward, then you're immediately assigned a dedicated project manager who's going to hold your hand through every step of the implementation. They're also going to walk through several custom training exercises with you. And then once your implementation is completed, you're going to be given a number of different customized training sessions, both for your KwikTag administrator as well as for your end users. And then there are going to be a number of ongoing sessions, videos, webinars such like this, but also pre-recorded so that you can take advantage of just the ones that you think apply in your organization. But we try to make training a really part of the entire experience and then an ongoing part of the process once you do come on board. And then finally, support is literally right down the hall from us. So, our dedicated support team is going to answer any call that they're available via email. You'll get a real live person that's right here in Phoenix, Arizona to answer your call, respond to an email, or you can submit a ticket very easily through our online system as well. So we take support very seriously, and I didn't cover it much in the slide on our company fun facts, but 98% of our customers continue to renew with KwikTag for that reason, because they know that we truly care about their business and want to support them in an ongoing way. Yeah, other questions? Thanks, Brad.
Okay, another question. Are the user licenses tied to Dynamics GP?
No, not at all. It doesn't matter how many GP users you have. You can have a separate number of GP users for the Pro client. You can also have a separate number of users for the approval experience, and you can have a separate number of users for just those that are, tagging documents directly within GP the way that Sean demonstrated. So no, none of our licenses are directly tied to how many GP licenses that you have.
All right, and then last question was, how long does it take to implement?
So there are kind of two answers to that, and the short answer is, if you're just looking to use our document management system and capture documents, make the paper go away, we can typically get that up and running within 3 to 4 days. So less than a week, you can take step one. And to be honest, many of our customers you kind of do it in phases. They say, all right, we want to make the paper go away first and get our feet wet with it, and then expand to process automation. Maybe they want to take a little bit more time to understand what the process flows are today versus what they need to be, and our team and of course the Turnkey team will help you work through those scenarios as well. But so if you're just looking at capture, just a few days. If you're looking at the full process automation and scoping and understanding where things need to be routed and approved and how they need to be created and what pit stops they need to make along the way, that routing and approval solution is going to be more like 45 to 60 days, somewhere between 30 and 60. Now, we've done that in less than a month too, so some of it depends on how quickly you need to put the, the pedal to the metal versus our calendar availability, but typically just due to schedules and priorities and other projects that you have going on in your organization, it's just a matter of getting our calendars to align. So I would say, anywhere from short answer 30, typically closer to 45 or 60 days, depending on availability.
Okay, that wraps it up for the questions.
All right, excellent. Sean, anything that you'd like to close with? Anything I might have missed?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, excellent. Thanks, Brad. We appreciate you having us and hope that everybody has enjoyed the demonstration and our conversation today.